Total War Warhammer is the most recent addition to the Total War series. You take command of one of the many factions in the fantasy Warhammer universe and are tasked with defeating your enemies and leading your faction to power. Total War Warhammer is a 4X game that mixes turn-based and real-time strategy. Warhammer has a very steep learning curve. Even while I was on the tutorial, I was overwhelmed with the game's depth and archaic interface. After taking some time exploring the available options, I was able to finally get a grasp on things and begin to find the game enjoyable, for the most part. Total War Warhammer does a great job of blending real-time and turn-based gameplay, but I found the turn-based stages to be the most troublesome. You spend most of the game in turn-based mode managing your kingdom by building settlements and armies, making diplomatic connections, and keeping your subjects from revolting. You then use your armies to defeat enemies and take territories. When you enter the battle, you switch to real-time to control your units. Combat focuses on ordering large number of units to march towards the enemy, while the commanders fight each other in one-on-one battles, and does a great job of feeling large and epic. While the battles were enjoyable, I found the turn-based component to be a bit difficult at times, since the game's interface can be difficult to deal with. While nothing was a deal-breaker, I do feel like the menu layout could have been better designed. I should clarify I only played as the dwarves, which gave me a small perspective of the gameplay since each faction plays very differently from each other. For the most part, I liked what I saw. After muddling through the base management for most of the game, I was about ready to throw in the towel. When I finally entered into a battle, I was able to let loose and found myself finally having fun. While I think the turn-based elements need to be improved, I will say I wasn't completely turned off. Total War Warhammer passes the 1 hour rule. Fans of the Total War series will enjoy the newest entry to the franchise, while those who enjoy strategy games should also find entertainment. People looking to explore the strategy and 4X genre may want to consider other choices, as the learning curve can be very steep at times. The name Total War Warhammer is really awkward to say. I also found the achievements to be a bit difficult to obtain. In my short playthrough, I wasn't able to get a single one. Polybridge is a construction puzzle game by Dry Cactus. You are the nameless architect, and are tasked with building unorthodox bridges to help unaware locals cross rivers and ravines safely in a number of colorful locations. Polybridge features physics-based bridge building, advanced building mechanics, and over 100 levels. Polybridge is fun in a very silly way. The graphics are bright and everything moves in a lazy, cartoonish fashion. Puttering is the word I would describe the way cars drive, and when your bridges collapse, it does so in such a deadpan manner it makes me giggle. Which is good, because my bridges collapsed a lot. Polybridge falls into the same school of thought as Kerbal Space Program, that failure is just part of the fun, and if at first you don't succeed, just add more struts. You need to learn to build bridges with proper structural support, otherwise they'll collapse from the weight of cars, the force of a steamboat, or simply just because. Most of the time I found that the simple designs for bridges are the best, but other times I really needed to think outside the box to find a solution. Oftentimes I thought I'd found the best design, only to discover my bridge falls apart from being too heavy, causing the bridge to collapse and sending an unconcerned station wagon tumbling into a river. Finding the solution is definitely its own reward, so failure just makes me want to keep trying. Polybridge is colorful and fun, but can be frustrating at times. In the end, I plan to keep playing. Polybridge passes the 1 hour rule. Your personal enjoyment and skill level of trial and error based physics puzzle games is a major determining factor for Polybridge. I'm not very good at this type of game, but I was still compelled to keep playing it. Your mileage may vary. I wish this game had an option to see where the structure was the weakest. That would have saved me a lot of grief. Space Run Galaxy is the sequel to 2014's Space Run and developed by the one-man studio Pastech. Space Run Galaxy places you in the role of the mute employee of the protagonist from the first game and tasks you with making interplanetary deliveries while fending off pirates, asteroids, and other cargo vessels. This game features an updated format to the tower defense genre and takes advantage of online social gameplay mechanics. Space Run Galaxy definitely feels like a lot of love went into this project. It would have been easy to update the base mechanics from the first game, throw on a fresh coat of paint, and change the story a bit. I admit, I've never played the first game, but from what I've read, the base gameplay has stayed more or less the same. The biggest changes are an overhaul to the mission structure, which offers a more open-world style mechanic for delivering different cargo to different systems. You have a modular ship made of hexes that you can use to build structures like shields, weapons, or more boosters to get you to your destination faster. Gameplay falls back on trial and error quite a bit, as I found myself regularly failing a mission while trying out different strategies to keep my cargo safe without losing too many hexes in the process. This did get irritating after a time, but there is no penalty for aborting, so I would still want to go back and try again. In the end, I found that the best strategies are usually just sticking on a large number of guns and hoping for the best, which did start to get dull after a while. The story is fun and interesting, with a great sense of humor and a fully voiced cast of characters that play off each other very well. One of my main reasons for continuing to play was listening to the odd assortment of characters interact with each other. Tower defense games really aren't my thing, but I did like Space Run Galaxy. I'm not exactly banging down the door to get back to this game, but I could see myself playing it to relax. Space Run Galaxy passes the 1 hour rule. Fans of the first game will find this a must-have, especially for the updated mission structure and new story. If you like tower defense games, you'll find Space Run Galaxy to your liking. Everyone else, maybe wait for it to show up in an indie bundle. I really wish you could rotate more of your guns. The decision to include that feature with some but not all feels very arbitrary. One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 is the third installment to the Koei Tecmo franchise set in the One Piece universe. Loosely following the story of the One Piece anime, you're put in the role of Straw Hat Luffy as he recruits his crew and travels the ocean on his quest to become the Pirate King. Pirate Warriors 3 is an action-adventure fighting game that borrows heavily from the Dynasty Warriors series. Pirate Warriors gameplay is pure catharsis. The game is centered around using ridiculous attacks to defeat large numbers of expendable enemies to build up power and gain experience. Combat is fluid and fun, and despite relying on button mashing, stays varied enough to avoid falling into hand-cramping tedium. While you will spend most of the time fighting waves of fodder, combat is broken up by the appearance of the more powerful captains, with special attacks, and if things get too tough, you can call in one of your allies to lend you a hand. Much like Dynasty Warriors, one of the game's main objectives is taking and holding territories until major bosses show up to progress the plot. While this gameplay mechanic doesn't fit very well into the lore, it manages to keep gameplay feeling dynamic without bogging you down with too much multitasking. One of my major complaints is that you're constantly getting messages from your allies in the bottom of the screen, but the game only uses the original Japanese voice actors. I found myself often missing important info because I was focused on combat. In the end, One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 does a decent job of maintaining the style and feel of the anime while still being a fun experience. While I have other games higher in my backlog, I definitely enjoyed my experience and would like to go back sometime soon. Pirate Warriors passes the 1 hour rule in one piece. I would suggest Pirate Warriors 3 to fans of the Dynasty Warriors series or fans of the One Piece anime. People looking for a more meaty challenge may find this game a bit underwhelming as it's not very difficult, even on higher difficulty settings. Cutscenes use this weird mix of in-game sprites interacting with still images against a comic book format. It's really jarring, and I wish they'd stick with one of the two styles. Flat Heroes is a minimalist platformer currently on Early Access. You take the role of one of 4 colored squares and try to survive the various challenges the game has to offer, or fight against opponents in local multiplayer. Flat Heroes is the first game by developer Parallel Circles, a 2-person team from England. Flat Heroes almost feels like the final project of a game development student, and I mean that with the best of intentions. The game focuses on a less is more aesthetic by stripping away everything that isn't immediately important. Sprites are simple shapes that bounce, float, or drop, with color coordinated to let you know what should be avoided while your sprite jumps and weaves to avoid danger with effortless grace. The game never feels frustrating, and the synth music does a wonderful job of creating a zen-like feel when navigating a colorful arena of spinning shapes. Flat Heroes doesn't have a proper tutorial, instead taking the Super Mario approach by dedicating the first few levels to teaching the player the basics through wordless mechanics. I was amused to find the game has a fairly large number of alternate languages available due to the low word count. In a way, I find Flat Heroes admirable. It was made by a small team that undertook a project with a fully understood vision and reasonable scope. Flat Heroes is definitely the game other early access developers should strive for. Despite my kind words, Flat Hero is just not my kind of game. While I'm sure other people would like this, I just couldn't get into it. Flat Heroes does not pass the 1 hour rule. Fans of casual platformers will love this game. Anyone looking for something with more substance would be wise to look elsewhere. I kinda wish the language menu would show all the languages available instead of asking you to go through the list one by one. I am not kidding when I say they had a lot of languages, and it's easy to get lost. Rive is a shoot-'em-up platformer developed by two tribes. Rive is about a scavenger named Roughshot who gets trapped aboard a mysterious spaceship and must find a way to escape while uncovering the hidden treasures that lie within. Rive was developed by the same team behind Toki Tori and features frantic twin-stick gameplay, hacking enemies, and hand-drawn art style. I went into Rive without expectation. In the end, I found that it does a great job of melding the fast shooting of a shoot-'em-up with solid platforming, but can also be obnoxiously difficult. You control a little spaceship as you navigate the tight corridors of a derelict vessel, fighting wave after wave of robots. Combat is insane and requires quick reflexes. Most enemies explode when they die, so dispatching them from a distance is your main priority. Unfortunately, the game feels unfairly difficult at times, with a camera that spontaneously focuses away from where enemies are spawning, and levels with instant death chases that feel like you need to learn the level layout in advance. To its credit, Rive doesn't punish you too hard for dying, but I still ended up feeling frustrated because every level was a constant gauntlet where I die and die and die again, trying to make my way across a pit of whirling spikes only to end up face first into a wall of molten metal and having to restart from the beginning because I just missed a checkpoint. Rive looks lovely, and the gameplay can be fun, but after dying an uncountable number of times, I found myself checking my watch waiting for the hour to be over. It's safe to say Rive does not pass the 1 hour rule. The game isn't without its merits, and I think fans of shoot-'em-ups and difficult platformers would get a kick out of Rive. Casual fans of either genre need not apply. I have no idea what fuel is used for. You don't need it to move or power weapons, but the main character seems to make a big deal out of finding refueling stations. Google doesn't know the answer either. Morphblade is a casual puzzle game by Suspicious Developments. You take control of a shape-changing sprite and must move across a grid to defeat bugs by using various abilities on each hex tile, with the goal to stay alive as long as possible. Morphblade was developed by the same team behind Gunpoint and inspired by the iOS game Imbroglio. Like Flat Heroes, Morphblade takes the less is more approach to game design. The sprites are simple, with enemies appearing as bright-colored insects against a calming blue background. Unlike Flat Heroes, Morphblade has opted for no tutorial in any form, instead dropping the player directly into the gameplay the moment the game starts and letting them figure things out from there. I found my early attempts ended with me dying within the first few rounds, but soon I was able to get a grasp on the mechanics and formulate a strategy. You can click or mouse over tiles and enemies to view their abilities, and since everything is turn-based, you have time to prepare a strategy, so you'll never feel the game was being unfair. You will die a lot, but the game is quick to get you back into the action. Failure teaches valuable lessons, so every time you start, you find yourself lasting a little longer, while getting drawn into the simplistic gameplay a little more each time. I wanted to say Morphblade isn't my kind of game, but the first time I played, I had found I'd gone an hour and a half straight without noticing. A day later, I decided to boot it up again to see if lightning could strike twice and discovered another 2 hours of my life stolen away. Against my own will, Morphblade passes the 1 hour rule. Fans of casual puzzle games will definitely get their money's worth. Even if that's not your type of game, I'd still argue you could find some enjoyment in Morphblade. This game is in desperate need of controller support. I was honestly surprised it didn't have any. Ernog is a Metroidvania by Swedish developer Niklas Nygren. You play a nameless protagonist that is tasked with going into a mysterious and strange world to retrieve a number of cubed creatures to be stored in the save room. Ernog is an exploration puzzle platformer with algorithmic music and 21 individually voiced cubes. If I could sum Ernog up in one word, it would be charming. The music is charming, the babbling blocks are charming, and the weird sprites that run and jump around randomly are charming, even though they border on annoying at times. The world is bizarre but never scary. While the environment is not without its peril, I never felt the game was out to get me, which evoked a sense of exploration I haven't experienced in a platformer since I played Fez. Much like Fez, the game is full of secrets and bits of humor that make you want to keep searching for new things to uncover. Blocks all have different abilities that you gain when you pick them up. Most explode into dust, but others do things like shoot lasers, allow flight, or make other blocks appear. Some blocks have personalities too, such as not wanting to be around other blocks or wanting to find more of their own. It's adorable watching a group of red blocks jump randomly away when you drop a green block nearby. Ernog feels unfinished. The world is small and stops far too soon, and many of the puzzles feel like they were eyeballed instead of tested. The game definitely has a lot of potential, and I hope Niklas finds time to keep building on Ernog for a full Steam release. I like Ernog, and I want to say it passes the 1 hour rule, but I can't get over my feelings of the game being unfinished. I may go back, but I want to wait to see if a more completed version comes out. If you liked Fez and are looking for more games in that same niche genre, Ernog is definitely for you. If Ernog ever got a full Steam release, I certainly would buy it. Would it have killed the developer to add a crouch button?